Did NASCAR accidentally leak out its championship format for 2026? Well, I will say the short answer is no. No, I don't think they did. But I do think there's a bit of explanation to be had here. So, Mike Forde, who's the managing director of communications and racing at NASCAR, he was on Door Bumper Clear earlier this week and was talking about a whole ton of different things. And of course, the championship format comes up because it is pretty pertinent to the discussions of what NASCAR is doing long term past 2025. And they got into this discussion. The entire panel is kind of going back and forth, talking a bit over each other, mixing different ideas and everything like that. And then at one point, as Mike Forde is talking, you then get, I believe it was Tommy Baldwin who had brought up a 32 race regular season and then a 4 race chase off, playoff, whatever you want to call it. And in that same moment, Mike Forde basically says, I think that's what they're going to do next year. Well, at the same time, they were also talking about how a regular season would be rewarded more if they were to do playoffs, and that's more than likely what they would do for next year. But because of the, I think, miscommunication, and especially what Mike Forde then would later put out on X, I think that a lot of people went and they ran with the fact that, oh, we're getting a 32 race regular season and then 4 races at the end of the year. And those will be the 4 rotating races for the championship. And everyone's just jumping to conclusions, in my opinion, about this. Now, I do think this is something that's at least been talked about. I don't think they would just throw that out there if there wasn't that kind of discussion in any way with it. But I don't know if it's even one of the top players right now. And I'm just thinking of a few different reasons as to, in my opinion, why this wouldn't work out as well as really any other kind of playoff or chase system or a full season championship. And the big one is just that while it would, in theory, please everybody, you'd get your season long stuff for the first 32 and then a playoff for the last 4. I don't think in practice this would be the middle ground people would maybe be clamoring for if they're wanting to have that kind of compromise. Instead, I think it would more just piss off both sides more. The full season crowd would look at it as, you're right there, man. Like, you're right there. And you end up just swerving off the exit right before the destination. And then for the pro playoff crowd, I could see a lot of them looking at it and saying, well, yeah, the lead up to the playoffs is fun, but that's 26 weeks. Now we just, added 6 more to it. And the chase, the playoff, the run to the championship that we all love now is 6 weeks shorter. And it's just 4 weeks right at the end. You make the regular season just that much longer to get through. What are you gonna move Daytona now to October? So that's the cutoff race. There's just so many things that I don't think people would necessarily be all for with this. I get it in concept, but I think in practice, it does not make practical sense. Now, there was some talk and then more discussion from the fans, and honestly more arguing from the fans, but more talk from the media side of things. And the first one I'll pull up is from Bob Pockrass, who put on Twitter after being asked about any updates to the point system and everything like that. And he said, quote, won't get NASCAR's decision on point systems until after this year ends. I'd be mildly surprised if a 36 race with no playoffs was implemented, but would expect a playoff system with some sort of elimination and a final round of 3, 4, or 5 races. Expect likely to get playoffs if the top X in points make it in, whether that be 5, 10, 12 like they used to be. And, I know he doesn't add it in here, but maybe 16. Who knows? Maybe they want to keep it that many, which I think is definitely a big step that a lot of people are going to talk about. This is some concrete evidence of a few things. One of the things we all knew is that the winner take all championship, a 1 race finale, whether it be at Phoenix or Homestead or the rumored Las Vegas in 2027, that seems to be dead and gone after this year, which I think everyone said, even the anti-playoff crowd that, okay, that's a good step. The other one, though, is the more and more the talk of this goes, whichever way it goes, it seems like winning you're in might be dead. And I know a lot of people defend it because it makes wins matter more and races matter during the regular season more. But it does seem like a lot of people have just kind of gotten sick of the novelty of it and want to kind of go back to basics a little bit more. And that's when he said 5, 10, 12. I think he's throwing numbers out there, probably educated guesses, but probably throwing a few numbers out there. But that would be, I think, a good step too. If you're going to keep it in some way, limit it to the best of the best in points. If it is a 32 or a 30 race regular season, only let 5 or 6 in. And that's kind of what Dale Jr.'s talked about. If, it's a top 10 or 12, then maybe you have a 10 race chase. Elimination, I'm still not crazy about. I think that's actually the root cause of a lot of the problems after winning you're in and the single race finale. I think if you go to something like this where you still have eliminations and you have that DNA of the current playoff system still flowing through it, you're going to come up to the same conversation in 4 or 5 years where fans are going to get upset with that because they have gotten upset with that over and over again. And then you're going to be back to square one. Now, whether it be for 36 races or it be for this kind of system, though, I think it's interesting to look at what we're looking at for the current points scored through the year aspect of it. Now, people put this out there for the 36 race format because you can make up 60 points in one race. The max points you can get in a race today is 61 points. If you win the race, if you sweep the stages, and if you get the fastest lap, you get 61 points, and then 36th on down. So last or the last few finishers get 1 point. So you can make up 60 in a race. And people have talked about like, hey, if the points played out like this, you'd have 6 guys within a race at the end of the season here with 4 races to go. Like, what a story that would be. The leaders are tied, and I get that too. But Dale Jr.'s talked about it a bit, and others have talked about it. If you do end up with a longer regular season and a short run to the finish of 4, 5, or 6 races, well, if the cutoff is top 5, that's a hell of a cutoff. Those will be the best going for it. William Byron and Kyle Larson, pretty good to go. If this was the cutoff, they would have been pretty safe. Bell would have been relatively safe. And then it was Hamlin, Blaney, Elliott, and just off the screen, I believe, is Briscoe, which those are the 7 best, most elite drivers all year. So again, on paper, I think this works, but I think, again, just in practical use, I don't see it. Now, I also want to point out something that Mike Forde said that was a little more concrete, and that was this, and Dirty Mo had put this out, that, quote, I think everyone thinks NASCAR hates the 36 race format. There's one person at least that is for 36 races. I am. Now, whether it be him or Steve O'Donnell or Steve Phelps, or if one of the Francis gets interviewed and says something like this, there will always be that underlying tone of, well, they're just trying to play the masses. They're trying to soften the blow a little bit or something like that. And that might be it. Politicking is big in sports. But I will point something out too that it's so interesting to me. And maybe this is just the way it will be in the post Brian France era of the last 8 years. But I don't think it was even like that until really this year with the points format. Is if you talked bad about the playoffs or playoffs in general, you were shunned. And yeah, there's a few people that'll say see you on Twitter if you just don't like it or don't like what they like. But this is different. It is different to see people high up in NASCAR who might not have the decision-making process and prowess on this issue, but high up in NASCAR positions openly talk about either supporting a full race series championship or just say that the playoffs in different ways have damaged the sport. Even if they don't go full 36, I am very pro full 36. Even if they don't go that direction, this has been a huge step in the right direction of looking in the mirror, of looking at the problems that were caused, especially by the Brian France era, and seeing, hey, where can we fix this? Where can we put a mirror up to ourselves and have that kind of self-scouting time? This right here is just another thing that's indicative of that. And the more deeply into the season we go and to the off season we go, because I'll be honest, I don't expect this to be announced in November or December. I totally expect this to be a mid-January announcement, very similarly to how 2017, 2014, 2011, 2007, and 2004 all were. You get people hyped up for the next season. So I think there's plenty of time for decision making and still even getting more input to be put in on this. But the more we go and the more that I continue to hear about a full season championship and know it's still on the board, the more momentum it seems to gain. It might not get there. It probably won't get there. I'm not going to get my hopes up necessarily that it's the favorite by any means, but it's one of the finalists. And I guess if the playoffs have proven anything, if you just get there, anything can happen. So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to pick. I think the perfect medium actually would be a 10 race chase. I think it's palatable enough to old school fans. But at this point, I think you've had so many of them galvanized by what people in the media have said that a lot of people have just went to their corners. On this side, you have those who are saying playoffs are bust. We need 3 or 4 rounds, add another round for all I care, winning you're in and all of that. And then the other end, we have full season or bust. I don't know. I don't think you can appease everyone. I think you have to choose one, what legitimizes the sport long-term to the fan base and to the competition, and 2, what will piss off the least amount of people. I don't know what that is. So let me know down below. What do you think it is? Do you think we're going back to tradition, back to our roots like NASCAR has been pushing? Or do you think it's just going to be a mix of what we've seen before and something a little bit new? Let me know down below. While you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to this channel for more great and fun NASCAR content. Thank you so much, all my channel members, for your continued support. And be sure tonight to watch NWP on Danny B's channel. Should be a lot of fun. Mystery guest coming on. You don't want to miss it. So until then, have a good one.